week in racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of their shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last thoughts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is The Magic Mike Show, episode 372. Mr. Samich.
Kentucky Derby is
Let's go, baby.
Go.
I'm so excited. It is going to be Kentucky Derby. It's been Kentucky Derby fever for over a week at the Racing Dudes team and on their YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us here on May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Happy Star Wars Day to you, Mr. Samich. Before we get into the Kentucky Derby action and the All-Stakes All-Dirt Pick 5, did you see the Obi-Wan trailer this morning, and how excited are you for that show?
Dude, I haven't even seen the Moon Knight finale yet. I'm not even starting with that stuff. I got
Moon Knight's
maybe
out.
I'll watch
It's Kentucky Derby time. I'm completely kidding.
Come on, man. Maybe I'll watch it on the drive to Kentucky tomorrow. We'll see. But no, man, I've done nothing but horse racing for the last week and a half solid, and it's been absolutely phenomenal. That's not true. I watched the Blues dominate the Wild in Game 1, and I will watch the Blues dominate the Wild in Game 2 tonight. Other than that, it's pretty much just horse racing, right? We got to get through the end of tomorrow's card, get the tickets up for that for the Sama Bombs. Friday card we're already done with. Saturday card we're already done with. So now we just need to start running some damn races, baby.
Hey, we are casting on Chris Miala's TV. Chris, I
love it.
There we go. The 3D style at you. Charles, thank you for the nice comment. Charles says, hello, dudes. Really like this show. Best on YouTube. Hands down, entertainment at its best. Listen, we try to give out winners, but we try to have fun doing it. And we really try to get a nice balance there. We definitely have fun. Not always giving winners, but speaking of winners, Mike, we have a big show. We've got the Saturday All-Stakes, All-Dirt Pick 5 at Churchill Downs. It's 5 races that aren't in order the way they were carded, but we're going to go, I guess the Derby press release had them different. We're going to go in order, so it starts with race 6. So we're going to get into that. But before we do, Mike, just tell the folks real quick, if they're not familiar with this sequence, what it is and why we chose to do this one.
Yeah, we're big fans about low takeout here. And specifically, this sequence has a 15% takeout on a pick 5 and a 50-cent denomination. So it allows you to spread a little bit more. They've got some couple gimmicky pick 3s that are $3 that have 22% takeout that just aren't as good of bets here as the all-stakes dirt pick 5 here. You've got the Kentucky Derby to end the sequence. I know we both have bigger opinions there. We spent so much time on that race. Neither of us feel like we need to go that deep there, which allows it to really set up here. I think we both think there is a terrible favorite in the Pat Day Mile. That makes this sequence really attractive to us. So all around, you've got big fields in here. You've got at least one, maybe two weaker favorites in both of our minds. And you got that 15% takeout, which makes it one of the better bets of the whole weekend. I think you're going to get a really good pool for it. I think you're going to be able to spread in certain spots, go skinnier in certain spots, and still go price hunting.
Without further ado, Mike, let's get into it. Riders up. You know, Mike, there's only one time a year where that fits, and it fits right here. I love it. That was really great to see. Steve the Bugler, not Sam, Steve the Bugler. We're going to pull this off there. See a little bit better. Kicking off Saturday's All-Stakes, All-Dirt Pick 5 at Churchill Downs. Race 6, this is the inaugural Knicks Go Stakes. How awesome that they named a stakes after him so quickly here. This overnight has a field of 12 older males going a one-turn mile. Your favorite here is going to be Shared Sense. It's actually Dream Shake at 5-2. Shared Sense is just behind him at 3-1. Where'd you go on top?
You know, I didn't get too crazy in this spot. I think Shared Sense is the logical top pick in here coming out of the 2 posts. That last race was absolutely monstrous at Fairgrounds. The horse is 2 for 4 at the distance. Likes Churchill Downs, 1 win over 4 starts. This horse has just gotten better and better and better with each start. The one issue is the horse doesn't seem to like to win all the time, but now we're 6 for 17 lifetime, and we found the wire this last time out. I'm not as worried about that. You've kind of seen some breaks or gaps in those wins. A little bit of step up in class here, but not too much since we're jumping to a restricted stakes. And specifically, the restriction here is that if they've not won a graded stakes, which lowers the level of competition quite a bit here because you don't have any graded stakes winners in this spot, I think Share Sense makes a ton of sense. I think you're going to get a nice pace setup. I think the 1-turn mile hits Share Sense right between the eyes. So I'm going to go with a 2-horse Share Sense on top. That's my only must use in this race.
I agree with you with the top pick here, and I love the fact that other than that mishap 2 back, which it seems to be fine, right, because he was vanned off, but then he comes back in March and he wins by 2 lengths. Other than that, he was trending upwards. So, like, all systems seem to be go. This is a horse that, they had some Derby fever when he was 3, as you do with a horse of this kind of caliber, and just took him some time to grow into his body, but he's coming along. So I'm with you on this one. Did we agree on another one? I think that we did. We did. We agreed on 2 more. Let's talk about the other one. Number 7, South Bend. Bill Mott horse, second off the layoff, 8-1 morning line price here. And Mike, this is exciting for both of us because the horse that every time he's at 2 turns, we're like, stop running this horse at 2 turns. He's not a 2-turn horse. He's back at a 1-turn race again. Like I said, second off the bench, second start at age 5. You have to wonder a little bit that race last out. Was it the slop that cost him? And we are expecting a pretty boggy track on Saturday, at least a little bit in the morning. Was it that? Was it did he just break poorly? Was he rusty? It was 5 months between races there. So I'm going to use him. Rosario rode him 3 back, and he won over this course and distance. It was optional claimers and 5 horses, but the horse can handle the trip and distance. Rosario riding tells me, yes, we're going to use this horse in the ticket.
Yeah, I mean, Rosario up is obviously the key. I think that Keeneland race is just one you needed. Look, it's really tough to come off a layoff as a horse that doesn't have a ton of tactical speed and watch them go 22-44 in front of you and then try and chase them down in the lane going 7 furlongs over a Keeneland track where it wasn't super easy to close over that day. So in my mind, that racetrack was a little bit against him. You kind of needed the race there. I like the fact that Rosario picks up the mount here for Mott. Mott is 23%, second off this type of layoff. So I like the fact that you should expect some improvement here. Also, a 5-year-old, that you have the logical improvement angle there, second off the layoff. You've got some older horses in here. I think that, honestly, this is one of the few in this spot where I could see a big jump forward. And I like the price at 8-1 as well. Gary Barber doesn't mess around when he's placing horses like this. You've got the races that back that fit. I mean, it makes a lot of sense that you can see Southbound jump up here. And I do think there's enough speed to set it up for a horse that's not super quick out of the blocks.
A horse that can be quick out of the blocks is the third one that you're using. That is the favorite, Dream Shake 5-2. I'm taking a stand against him, but I'll hold off on that because it's not a huge reason. Mike, talk to us about Dream Shake.
Yeah, I mean, this is about as far as I want Dream Shake going. This 1-turn mile. But you look back and you see that Pat Day mile, man, and that race was by far in my mind his most impressive race. Yeah, he had a better numbers as his maiden breaking score first time out, but that seems a little inflated now when you look back at it. Jackie's Warrior won the Pat Day mile last year, was absolutely phenomenal going wire to wire, and Dream Shake just couldn't run him down. Dream Shake got a 91. Man, Jackie's Warrior, dude.
It's gonna be a show for you, buddy, isn't it?
Yeah. But you have Dream Shake who ran really well in that spot. They chased a 21-3, 43-3 opening half mile and just missed to Jackie's Warrior. I feel like this 1-turn configuration is good. And again, looked really good at Keeneland going 6 furlongs. And then Bag Boss just came back to win over the Churchill track literally 10 minutes before we came on the show here. Looked awesome as well, wiring the field. So that race just got improved or took a step up. We get second off the layoff, second out as a 4-year-old. Urton hasn't been messing around when he sent these horses toward the East Coast right now. I think Dream Shake's going to be all systems go. I wish we got a little better price. I don't love the 5-2, but I have opinions later that I don't want to not get out of this leg because Dream Shake wins.
That's funny. I have that same opinion about a different race. So I didn't use him. The price, Shared Sense being my top pick, was part of it. I think that listen, I know I've actually got Pratt Daddy with a frowny face in my notes here. I promise you. You made great points about him. I actually think the 1-turn mile might be too long for him, but definitely he is a 1-turn horse and he's in the right spot for it. He struggled when he was going 2 turns. I had to take a stand between him or Shared Sense, and I like the Shared Sense is cutting back, whereas we're asking Dream Shake to keep stretching out, when in the past, Dream Shake stretching out to 2 turns was a bad move. Now we're going a 1-turn mile. So that Pat Day mile effort where he almost beat Jackie's Warrior had me, but I'm going to rely on that hopefully being an anomaly. But you make all great points. Pratt's riding Urton sending this horse with intention to win, so don't knock you for that one. The horse that I did use ended up going with for my third choice is I actually got to scroll down a little bit. Mike, the Kentucky Derby day, it's all about first, right? First time playing Kentucky Derby. We had a woman earlier in our chat who was going to bet the Kentucky Derby for the first time. For the first time in his 22-start career, I am going to play Necker Island on a ticket here. This horse loves Churchill Downs. He's 5 for 9 lifetime here, 2 for 2 at this 1-turn mile setup, including once in the slop. He has won both of his starts on wet tracks, so assuming we get a boggy track, he's going to be there. But go back and watch this horse's last 4 starts. Forget the win, because he looked good doing that. Those other 3, trip trouble up the ass, traffic issues. One of them was a sprint, so as soon as he got stopped, well, their win all shot. The other 2 races going at Oaklawn was a mile going 2 turns, but at Oaklawn, a 2-turn mile, you stop at the 16th pole. So again, if you're getting stopped because of traffic problems, there goes all shot. Churchill, you've got a wide backstretch. You've got a long run down that backstretch to that turn. You've got a wide turn. You've got a long stretch. It's going to be so much easier for this horse to, when he gets into trouble, and maybe he can avoid it a little bit better. It won't cost him as much. I think the price at 6-1 is going to float up a little bit because I think, forgive the pun, I think that form is pretty muddy right now. And I think you've got horses like Shared Sense, like Dream Shake. They're going to take a lot of money. I think there's actually going to be some value here. So I'm going to use Necker Island.
I don't hate it. I couldn't go deep enough here if I wanted. I couldn't go that deep to get to Necker Island if I was wanting to go as deep as I do specifically in the next race in the Pat Day Mile. I'm using 6 horses there, which kind of limited my options after that.
Yeah.
Injunction, the 8-horse, and Necker Island, the 11, were the 2 others that I thought were really interesting. Injunction should make the lead. If you go back to the pace numbers that the 8-horse Injunction had 3 and 4 back, that's good enough to get to the lead in this field. Was able to wire a field going a mile at Churchill over a good track, so has that there. We're getting third off the layoff, third out as a 4-year-old. Jose Ortiz picks up the ride. I think 15-1 on Injunction's interesting. And yeah, then the 11 Necker Island, you brought up great points. The horses had trouble in 3 of the last 4 starts. The other one was a victory. My issue with Necker Island and why he didn't end up on the ticket was specifically because just kind of flat efforts, right? You're not seeing any real improvement from any race to race. So you kind of know what the ceiling is, I feel like, with Necker Island. And I don't see a logical reason he's going to take a big jump forward. I do think he needs to improve to win the race. And so if I feel like I know what his ceiling is, unless other horses really regress, I think it's going to be tough for him to win.
One other horse I wanted to bring up here is Frosted Grace, the 9-horse. A friend of mine owns Frosted Grace. Love this horse. The horse loves the bull ring, and so it's a reason why he showed at Delta Downs his last 2 starts. The bull ring, by that I mean it's a much smaller track and it's a lot tighter turns. It's the opposite of what he's going to see at Churchill Downs, and I think that this really just came up as too tough of a spot for him. Do you think of this being an ungraded stakes race, on the Derby Day undercard, hey, maybe that's a good spot. Yeah, I think this is just too tough for him. I love the horse. I love the owner, obviously. Just not for me. What about you, Mike?
I'm afraid that a horse that wants to be more forwardly placed is going to face a lot faster fractions than Frosted Grace has seen in the past. If you look at those last 2 at Delta, talking 47.1 and 48.2 opening miles. We're going to go 46 and change here, maybe 45 or high 45. So it's going to be a much quicker pace up front. The question is, can Frosted Grace stay as close to that pace and then still have that kick turning for home? I kind of lean toward no. But again, that 15-1 price, I wouldn't talk you off a 15-1 shot, especially if I think it's going to float up. Probably getting 20 to 25-1 on race day. So if you like Frosted Grace, I get why you'd want to play it, but that one's just not for me.
Second leg of Saturday's all stakes, all dirt pick 5 at Churchill Downs. We don't have to go too far, Mike. Race 7, this is the grade 2 Pat Day Mile, another 1-turn main track event with a dozen boys. This time, they're all 3-year-olds, and most of them we're pretty familiar with. They failed at some point along the Kentucky Derby Trail, or in Jack Christopher's case, never even got a chance to try. He is the 2-1 favorite here from post 5. He's undefeated in 2 starts. That Champagne Stakes victory last year had everybody hyped on him and thought maybe he could win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Misses the Juvenile, misses everything up until now. Hell of a place for you to return as a 3-year-old, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this race, it's really, do you trust Jack Christopher or not? And part of that question then becomes, do you trust the number that the Champagne brought back or not? Because that's a big question here, right? Obviously, the debut was very good. Horse went fast early, was able to kind of kick on and kick clear and get a big 92 buyer. Comes back in the Champagne and get this outrageous 102 buyer for running a 136 1-turn mile. Now, with the way Command Performance has come back, I want no part of Jack Christopher. I feel like this is just not the spot to bet him. I think the 2-1 is probably correct. You might even see a little lower than that, which to me is is wild. Look, from a numbers perspective, this horse is a standout. And so you're really left with two options. Do you single Jack Christopher here, or do you chuck Jack Christopher here? And when I'm looking at those two options and I see a 2-to-1 horse at 12-horse field with abundance of speed that hasn't been seen for a long time, that we've gotten sketchy reports about, that I don't trust the number in the last, that's going to get people to bet it, I'm going to chuck out Jack Christopher. So I'm going to start with the rail, and I'm going to go with Major General on top here. I think that the one horse can be able to sit a pretty technical trip, doesn't necessarily need the lead. That race, the Iroquois at Churchill last year specifically catches my eye, where we were able to stalk a 23-4, 47-4 opening half mile, sit in fifth, and then make a move around the turn. That's exactly what I'm looking for here as well. I like the fact that we had a nice progression from the Tampa Bay Derby, where this horse just had absolutely no chance after the start. Then dueled at Keeneland and the Lexington, and Tawny Port just flew on by. No one else really stayed up that was on the pace. So for my I like it when a horse like that is able to kind of stay forward and push the pace, and everyone else backed up. So yeah, for me, I'm going to go with the one Major General on top. And then my other must use, let's just go bombs away. I'm going to go to the 12 post. I'm going to go with O Captain, coming in from Florida, baby. Horse is 20-1 on the morning line, and I think this race just sets up for a collapse. I don't think O Captain wanted any part of a mile and a 16th or a mile and an 1/8. I think this is a one-turn horse. You go back to those first two races, got a 59 buyer to win our maiden, and then jumped up to a 71 first off the layoff as we got early into the 3-year-old season. Ran an 88, so a nice improvement, stepping up to a mile and 16th, and ran third behind Simplification and in due time. Then comes back in the Florida Derby and actually runs pretty well. Is up close to that early pace, which was pretty swift, only 4 lengths back. Yes, and 6, but only 4 lengths back, 5 lengths back of a 110, 110 3/4, and then able to close. Rosario found this horse good enough to ride. Now you're getting Gaffleone. I like the outside post here because you're going to have a ton of speed to the inside. If this thing collapses, I think O Captain is the horse that can pick up the pieces, a la Funny Duck, like that style of win, right? And I think this horse is better around one turn. I'm getting a killer price at 20-1.
Listen, but ever since Funny Duck won this in 2018, I'm not going to tell anybody not to play a long shot in this race. O Captain isn't for me, but again, I'm not going to tell you not to do it. He will definitely be coming late. My concern with him is that third in the Fountain of Youth Stakes came because over half the field got taken out. He was well behind everybody when the accident happened in the far turn. And most of the jockeys stopped riding who were part of that and were still on their horses. So I felt that the third was, okay, you were the best of the horses that still had some interest after that accident. But he definitely has the running style that if you think this is going to fall apart and a lot of horses are going to come back, which we've got a lot of horses that are trying this distance or this kind of setup for the first time, Mike, he's definitely fit enough. He's going to come running. So again, I'm not going to talk you off of it. He's just not for me. I did use Major General. My one big concern with him and why he wasn't a must-use for me, the rail with all that kickback that he's going to get. The breeding says he should handle running on the slot, but getting it thrown in his face from 11, not 11 horses, not all 11 will be in front of him, but there'll be a lot of horses that will get in front of him if he doesn't get the lead, and I think Jack Christopher will do. I use Jack Christopher. This is the one time I will go against, not one time, because I do it sometimes. There's going to be the time where I use him and still spread. And everything that you said makes sense from a long-term perspective, right? If you're looking at your full year, your ROI, day by day, year over year, you've got to play the way Mike has been telling you to do this. You either single or go very short with Jack Christopher here, or you completely chuck and spread. I just have no idea what to do with him. And if the track gets muddy, he's by Munnings. That's only theoretically going to help him. But you named it. The horses that he beat in the Champagne, Command Performance, Wit, My Prankster, Gunite, Kavad. 2 of those are in this race. I'm not using either one of those horses. Nobody from that group today on May 4th makes you go, yeah, that's exciting. So with Jack Christopher, you've got some question marks. My top pick, and I have seen him thrown around the chat a little bit, I'm going with Papa Cap, the number 3 horse. I'm going to have to scroll back up a little bit. I'm getting 6-1 on a horse that everybody who thought I was crazy for not playing Flavien Prat, don't worry. I got him at 6-1 now. We're good. This is a horse that's got tactical speed, and you're putting Flavien Prat aboard a tactical speed horse for the first time. I mean, come on. Like, what more do you want from that? If you remember Papa Cap from the Kentucky Derby Trail, he ran like a one-turn horse. And by that, what I mean is he showed speed early, but then there was no kick. When it was time to press on the gas off the turn, that second turn, he was just kind of empty. Grade 2 winner, going one turn. I really think this is one of those horses, Mike, that we're going to look back at it and say, bam, the Pat Day Mile, that's when he got back to what he was best at, which is one turn. I think the 6-1 is going to be great, and I think he's bred for the mud.
Yeah, he's one of my next two ups here. I think that Papa Cap makes a ton of sense. I think the one turn is what you're looking for. You go back to even like the Breeders' Cup race where he just kind of tried to chase home Carniche but couldn't quite get there. He makes a lot of sense at this distance. I think Papa Cap's definitely worth the use. I like the 6-1 price. I'm interested to see if we get the 6-1 price because I'm not sure if he's going to get more money or take more money on race day, but we'll have to kind of see how that goes. For me, the other next up was My Prankster. I actually am going to use the 11 here. I think he makes a lot of sense in this spot as well. I don't love the 4-1 price. I kind of agree on that. And I realized that My Prankster went down to Jack Christopher, but that was My Prankster's second race. We haven't seen Jack Christopher since then. We've got 4 additional data points from My Prankster since then. And we're getting second off the layoff, which I would like a lot more than first off the layoff. Old Homestead ran in that race. So did Surfer Dude, both pretty good horses. The horse didn't really break as well as I would have liked in that spot. It was breaking out of the 8 post that day and just kind of got in a weird spot around that first turn. I think this race sets up much better for him. I think a mile is about as far as My Prankster wants to go. But we have Flower Alley on the bottom side, Into Mischief on the top, so the distance really shouldn't be an issue. I love the fact we're getting Todd Pletcher, Luis Saez in a race where I think the jockeys are going to make a big difference, especially if you do have that speed up front. So I'm going to willing to swallow the 4-1 price on My Prankster because of how much I think Jack Christopher's going to get bet in this spot.
A long shot horse that you and I both used, and my buddy Curtis is, he's mentioned before, so I can't find it in the chat, Curtis. I went looking. The number 6, Tejano Twist, 10-1. If you scratch off that last effort, Mike, at Keeneland, everything about, thank you, there it is. Everything about this horse tells you, at minimum, this is a great exotics horse at 10-1. He loves to come running late. He doesn't seem to necessarily have that sharp turn of foot to come up there and nail you for the win, but what if the pace collapses like we've been talking about? What if Jack Christopher doesn't handle and starts coming back to the horses here? You know, as long as this horse isn't 12 wide like he was at Keeneland, he's going to be coming. And he's by Practical Joke. If you remember Practical Joke's turn of foot, it was something that was just a thing of beauty. And if you get that style turn of foot coming in the stretch from this horse, I mean, he won a 6.5 furlong stakes here last fall. He was second to Epicenter in the Gunrunner Stakes, so good horses have been beating him. I think at 10-1, we're getting a fantastic value here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to piggyback on this because I think there's a couple other things. He's got a muddy form, right? I mean, you look at that last race. He broke out of the 12 post in that same race that we just discussed about My Prankster, the Lafayette at Keeneland on a wet, fast track. He was 8 wide into the lane, never had a prayer to make up the ground there. Almost looked like the jockey wrapped him up. Draw a line through that one. The 1-2 back, we were talking about Epicenter. How many turns do Practical Joke horses want to go, Magic?
1.
How many turns was he going against Epicenter?
2.
That makes that race even more impressive that he ran second behind Epicenter there. And then just from a handicapping perspective, when you have these buyers that are these high 80 buyers for their entire 2-year-old campaign, and then you come back first race back and you run a 91 buyer, that's such a logical setup to improve off it. And then you have a regression off it because of the 12 post, because of what happened to Keeneland. If you draw a line through that and say, we're going to improve off the 91, 10-1 looks like an absolute steal on Tejano Twist. So I think you kind of have to use, oops, there goes my phone. I think you kind of have to use this horse here if you're going to play multi-race bets, especially if you're going to spread. I considered having this one higher up, but man, I think you kind of have to use this one from a multi-race perspective. And go ahead. I say I have one other horse, so I'm going one more. I'm going 6 deep here. I think you stopped at 5. I'm going to use the 9 horse. It's been mentioned a couple times in the chat here. Trafalgar as well. This is a horse I kind of liked on the Derby Trail. Kind of got off it after the comp. But this is another horse where I think this 1-turn mile really sets up well. Broke his maiden here at Churchill, going 1 turn. Had Rosario that day. Was able to run an 81 buyer. We didn't see any progression at all into that 3-year-old season. That's really surprising, especially for Al Stall horses who generally do see a pretty good progression from second to third. I'm wondering if it's because this horse wants 1 turn and not 2. He wants to be a 1-turn closer. If you go back to that Churchill race where he was able to, as a maiden, break his maiden, coming from the back of the pack, pass multiple horses to get the job done, and I'm talking about a race that I think can collapse, that's a great race to point back to and say, hey, we're getting back to what we want to do. And we're doing it at the track we've won at before with a race setup that is exactly how we set up last time. I'll take 20-1 on that horse here in a spread race for me.
And kind of going with Charles' comment here, it's a good reference race for how the Derby plays out. He is exiting, Trafalgar that is exiting the fairground circuit, which is either, for me, the number 1 or number 1A circuit from the whole Derby trail. So sure, he didn't beat Epicenter in the 2 times that he faced him, but he was facing what I think were the better horses, or some of the best horses from the Derby trail. I consider Trafalgar. I just think this is still a little too much, but I agree with. I think he being by Lord Nelson, he's got the sprint pedigree on the top. Dixie Union underneath says a little bit of stamina, so a mile 7 furlongs should be right within this horse's wheelhouse. I'm not going to use him. I don't think that he's quite good enough to beat every horse that I'm using, but an interesting one to look forward to. By the way, the very first stable him up horse I ever had was Trafalgar. He was second to Classic Causeway, and I was so sure he was going to win, and I told everybody about him. That's why he was 4-5 when he broke his maiden next out.
Oh, that's why. It was you. Huh?
That's why.
I do remember.
He was the only horse who closed in that race in his maiden debut, and I was, one of many that saw that.
You did use him as your stable up. I do remember that. And I think this horse it's just one of those where if you're spreading in these races, get a little creative with some of your plays. Don't just pick the next 3 favorites, things like that. Take some swings, go 5 or 6 deep, try and find some prices. And in this case, I mean, look, I think if you're like Doppelganger, I guess you could use Doppelganger at 6-1, but there's a lot of different routes. I don't hate Howling Time at 30-1. I mean, this is also a race where if you want to single later, I wouldn't hate hitting the all button here. Like there's a couple ways. Like if you single the Derby, you could hit the all button here, and my ticket would cost the exact same. Because going from 2-1 and going 6-12 is the exact same cost.
If you shove and you hit the all button in one race, make it the Pat Day Mile. We say that Jack Christopher will win at 9-5, but no, really, I think this is the race where you have some funny duck. I actually have I forgot a 5th horse, and I'll do real quick. In this 30-1, and that's the 2 trademark for Rafael Bejarano and Vicky Oliver. Horses 2 for 2 at Churchill Downs. Both times are going 8.5 furlongs, so 2 turns and slightly farther, but the horse did it setting a pressured early pace and having enough stamina to hold on when it really mattered. That matters because now we're cutting back to a 1-turn mile. I assume this horse will probably be sent because the best races on this horse's form, forwardly placed. Send this horse, try and go after Jack Christopher, force him to show his fitness, his stamina. Can he handle a 1-turn mile after 6, 7, 8 months that he's been gone? If you think there's any question about that, you as Trademark and Rafael Bejarano, you need to send the shit out of that horse. And if he pushes him, when it comes down to it at the top of the stretch, who's got the better stamina, who's in form, who's cutting back, and who's trying to stretch out? All of those things line up for Jack Christopher bad. Trademark at 30-1, good. So at 30-1, again, funny duck situation. This horse, look out.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. At the price, and the fact that we have more stamina and all the negatives on the Jack Christopher train, all of that makes sense to me as to why you'd use someone like Trademark. And yes, Mike, I just did say a Roman horse was usable at 30-1. 30-1. That is the key of why that is when you use Dale Romans.
All right, Mike, 3rd leg of Saturday's All Stakes, All Dirt Pick 5 at Churchill Downs. Race 8 is one of the favorite races for you and I of the entire racing calendar. This is the Grade 1 Derby City Distaff Stakes, and the reason I say that is because we've got 8 older fillies and mares sprinting 7 furlongs, and what could be, we could have probably the most exciting finish other than the Derby from the entire day come down in this race. There's a lot of great fillies in here. You could cox them up and call them home if you just want the 2 horses on the inside.
You could do that, but I think you may not win the race. It's my top pick is coming outside of that. First off, I've got to admit, selecting this race does make me a little sad. I think I've picked Bell's the One. I don't know, maybe 8 straight races, 7 straight. It's been a lot of races in a row that I've picked Bell's the One to win, and she has treated me wonderfully. Let's be very clear. Ever since I think I caught her at 13-1 at Churchill in the winning colors, she's won multiple races for me. She's won.
Everybody listening, that's take a shot. By the way, he brought up Bell's the One in the winning colors.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, it's happened a couple times in this show. She's 4 for 6 with 2 seconds her last 2. I'm not even including her on the ticket. That's how good I think this race is. I usually love Bell's the One. She's completely didn't make my ticket. My top pick is going to be the 5-horse Obligatory. Look, this horse is, again, getting the right pace set up in my mind. I think there's a ton of speed in here. I'm going to use one of the speed horses, but I'm going to pick 2 closers to go with it. The pace setup is good for Bell's the One, but I think Obligatory is a better version of her. Bell's the One is 6. You've seen the top end of Bell's the One. When these mares get older, they fall off quickly. You're not going to see a lot of improvement. Obligatory is 4. Obligatory has a win over Churchill going 7 furlongs with the right pace setup. I think you get that pace setup again today. And we talked about when races set up the right way and when buyers set up the right way, I really gravitate toward those horses. Throughout the 3-year-old campaign, you were seeing low 90s consistently from Obligatory. First race off the layoff. First race is a 4-year-old. Bam, 95. It tells me this horse has a chance to progress big time again next out. Any progression off that 95 makes obligatory really tough. I'm going to put her on top here.
And I didn't use her. I still can't get over all the trash you laid on your girl. Bell's the one. My God,
I didn't lay any trash on her.
Oh
I gave her a
God,
bunch of compliments.
So much trash. So much.
A bunch of
trash.
compliments. This is the toughest field she's faced in a long time.
That is true. That is very true. This is an extremely tough field. Listen, obligatory. My thing with her, you got a 4-year-old, so older, Curlin daughter. That's a great thing. Track could be muddy. That's a great thing. I don't like the price on her at 7-2. I also don't like that she struggled twice at this distance in the past. The one time that she was successful, you brought up the 8 bells, she was 16-1. After that race, we all went, not obligatory is great. We went, those horses are shit. They all lost to obligatory when she was dead last, running like a donkey. The Fairgrounds Oaks that she had run in, we thought maybe she could win because we liked her maiden win, and she was terrible in that. Granted, 2 turns, but still, like, this horse was a complete surprise in the 8 bells, and now to me at 7-2, I don't want her against anything because, again, this is by far the toughest field that this filly has faced, and she's a very short price.
Well, you continue to slander obligatory for no real reason. Look, you're right. We were surprised at 16-1. You know what we have since then? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 additional data points, which now can back up why that 16-1 was probably incorrect in that spot. I also had her in that race as well at 16-1, just for the record. So, like, look, the Acorn next out, going a mile, which is probably a little further than she wants to go, faces search results, runs second. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Faces Bella Sophia in the grade 1 test. Kind of runs a bad race there, but doesn't break well at all. So I'm gonna give her a pass for that. Faces Clairiere going 2 turns next. That's not an easy spot. Not what she wants to do. The Ravens run at Keeneland is the one question mark. That's where she probably should have run better. Probably should have run better there. But then comes back
favorite.
Yeah, fine. Comes back and beats Matera, who I think is like one of the better horses we're going to see all weekend. So that's a heck of a win going a mile at Churchill. And then comes back and runs a career best by her the first of the 4-year-old season. Those 6 data points completely wipe out the 1 data point that you're bringing up.
Yeah, but no, you included another data point that wipes out. That Raven one was just a giant wet fire. No, I'm not going to use her. She could win. I'm not going to use her. Not for me. My top pick, Mike, even though you got off the Bells the 1 train, horse who you cannot jump off the train of is the 2 Just One Time. This is a filly who we have loved since she joined the Brad Cox barn at the beginning of the year. Goes in the Inside Information Stakes, and we're like, well, you know, she's a speed demon, blah, blah, blah. She has one from stalking, but she's probably going to have to be on the pace. And can she handle it first time facing all these great horses? And then in the post parade, she's a mess. And in the paddock, she's a mess. And in the gate, she's fractious. She breaks poorly, and we're going, well, this is what happens when you come up to the big leagues, and she still won.
Yep.
And then she goes to the grade 1 Madison. We're like, well, shit, she won that. We said on this show, she won that despite herself. She's got to win this one, right? You're damn right she did. Both wins for Brad Cox, 7 furlongs, 1 time on fast, 1 time in the mud. So whatever you throw at her track-wise on Saturday, she's going to handle it. That race at Gulfstream, she beats 4 Graces, who's the 8 horse in here. She goes to Keeneland. She beats Bell's the 1, Kamari, Lady Rocket, Center Isle. Oh, and 4 Graces again. 5 horses who are the 7 that she has to face here. They're all in here. Even if she's not your top pick, I do not understand why you would not use Just One Time on your ticket. And I know you did, so I'm not accusing you. I'm just saying to anybody who's listening to this, why would you not use her?
Yeah, I don't see how you can pass on her after that last race. I thought it was really impressive. Now, she beat Bell's the 1 by 3/4 of a length, but if you go back and you watch the race, it was much more impressive than 3/4 of a length. I agree that this is the one concern. It's kind of the funeral, but the difference is we're actually getting a better price than we did the last 2 times. So I'm not as worried about the wedding funeral angle here because the price is a little bit better, not even worse than what we saw last time. She is a slight favorite here. This is another race in this sequence. I don't think you're going to see a heavy favorite. If you have a big opinion here, I may try and single obligatory in a press ticket here because I think it really separates you. But I do like Just the One as well. These are the 2 horses I currently have in that must-use spot for the Samo Bomb. So to me, it's between the 2 and the 5. I think the 5 is the top pick, but it's tough for me to leave off the 2. So I agree with you with Just One Time. Another horse where it has that same setup where you had those mid to high 90s as a 2-year-old runs a very, or 3-year-old runs a very good race as a 4-year-old to kick off the career. It's a logical improvement step here. So if either the 5 or the 2 improve, it's going to be tough for any of these older mares to be able to run with these 4-year-olds. And we're to a point in the season where these 4-year-olds are going to be fully mature now. So you're going to see big time efforts from these horses second off the layoff. I did go 3 deep here. I did use the other Brad Cox horse. Look, if Lady Rocket runs back to that Aqueduct effort two back, it's going to be tough for anyone to beat her. And when you see that, to me, it's just that's the one that I look at and I say, okay, that caused an issue. I also I don't think we're going to go as fast as we went in the Madison. I don't think we're going to see a 22, 44 and 2. And Lady Rocket's going to go to the lead. And one thing that I'm still not sure about with Churchill, and this is something that can be a problem, yesterday's speed was exceptional at Churchill. Today's speed has not been as good. Churchill has a tendency on big days to play toward inside speed. This is your inside speed. If she catches the right track, she could be a Lady Rocket and just take off, and no one can catch her down the lane. So I want to have, if I'm going to play a speed horse here, I'm going to use the inside speed on Lady Rocket. I'm going to end up 1-2-5 in this spot, and hopefully we can get through this leg.
Yep, I went 1-2-6, so we agree on the Cox horses here. You know, the fact that she lost to Grade 1 Madison after setting the pace, I don't think it was the off track, because she did win an off track last year, but it just 5 starts off the bench, man. And she's a speed horse, and 7 furlongs is a tricky distance. If that race is 6, Mike, maybe she wins, but this horse was trending so far upward at the end of 2021 that it's like it was at the point when the Aqueduct race happened to go for one that we're like, if the Breeders' Cup had been just a couple of months earlier, or if it was peaking a couple months earlier, she could have gone to the Breeders' Cup where we had 5 horses. Like, she could have easily been a contender in that spot. So glad to see her here. I used our old friend Bell's the One. She's 4-for-8 at Churchill, won this race in 2020. Of those 8 starts, the 4 losses, 3 times she was second at Churchill. She's a lot of fun. I'm kind of hoping, like Lady Rocket, she just needed the race in the Grade 1 Madison. She did show interest in just one time, who's my top pick in this race, ended up catching her there. So with a little bit more fitness, a little bit of time, she is 6. You know, they knocked the rust off. I'm going to use her. I understand if you're willing to pass on her here. I just think, Mike, you're making a mistake.
That's fine. I mean, I'm using the winner, and you don't have the winner, so that's cool. No big deal there. Let's go through some of the chat here, because I do think there's a bunch of interesting ones. Yeah, I was going to pull up Kevin's comment as well. Kamari is one that you got to respect in this spot. Horse is very good on turf, very good on dirt. I'm just not sure that this is how she wins the race. I mean, I know 2 back at Gulfstream she was able to stalk and win, but that was against much worse. She was able to win the Grade 1 Madison when Bell's the One ran second. That was in 2021. But again, they didn't go quite as fast as I think they're going to go here. So for me, I think it's just going to be tough for Kamari to get the trip that she wants.
It feels like she peaked.
Wants. Yeah, the one thing I'll say, if there's some moisture in the track, Kamari's by Munnings, and all of a sudden that could kind of pick her up. So Kamari might be one of those where you want to watch the track and see how it's playing, and if it is playing as a muddy track, Kamari is probably a horse that you got to take a step forward. I don't have notes on Lady Rocket, Charles B, for that specific race. Aqueduct can often be an inside speed rail speed favoring track as well. They've had Golden Rail days there, so I wouldn't be shocked. I don't have specific notes for that day at Aqueduct, but if you're saying there's a bias, that definitely could be something you go into play. And then Rob brings up kind of how it's been playing here. The inside water is holding a lot more water. They kind of switched up the track a little bit, and so moisture seems to be moving toward the inside. I've noticed today as well, the horses in the lead are going 3 and 4 wide down the lane. So they're clearly trying to stay away from that rail. So the rail is definitely bad down the stretch right now based on the way the jockeys are playing it. It'll be interesting to see, that speed is holding in that 3 path, because that's how they're going to kind of adjust to that, is you're going to see these jockeys come off the rail and kind of run down the middle of the track in the stretch.
What's nice about this race is that it is the 8th on the card, and by that point, a world-class jockey like an Ortiz, like a Pratt, like pretty much everybody that's going to be in this race, they're going to know by this point what the track is playing like. And also, Churchill is Aaron says this a lot. Churchill as a track famously dries quickly. So if the rain is heavy in the morning, maybe by race 8, it starts to dry out and maybe that inside gets a little better. But trust that the jockeys, if you're betting a horse with a world-class jockey on it, trust that jockey is going to understand by race 8 what to do with the horse. Sorry, go ahead.
Saez just did it in the 8th race. So Saez is already on it here, and we're still 2 days away. So you got plenty of time for these jockeys to kind of learn their way through the track. But he went 4 wide on the 10 horse who was in the lead, and the 4 horse Top Gunner ended up running that horse down from the 6 path. So you already are seeing these horses definitely trying to go wide, and I think the jockeys are already adjusting to it.
My last note on Lady Rocket, while that might have been biased at Aqueduct, 6 wins in her career, 6 different tracks. Does not matter where she runs or what. There can't be the same bias at 6 different tracks for Lady Rocket.
The buyer stands out. The buyer was 107 that day, and the highest previous was 94. So I think that's the main reason. The other horse in here, Edgeway, I think we should at least mention. We should talk. Like, this is a great race. We could talk about every single horse, to be honest.
Sure.
Edgeway's going to go to the lead. Edgeway's going to be a pace problem for Lady Rocket. It's one of the reasons I think there's a ton of speed in here. The horse that's interesting to me at a big time price, if you want to get a little crazy, I don't hate Center Isle at 15-1. I'm not going to use this horse on my ticket, but if you want to, again, if you have a big opinion somewhere else, you can just draw a line through that last race for Center Isle. It was first off the layoff, first out as a 5-year-old. The horse hopped at the start, had absolutely no chance, wants to be more forwardly placed, and found herself 7 of 9 early. I mean, essentially size wrapped up Center Isle, and the fact that Lobo decides to come right back into a stakes tells me that there was no problem, that the horse was fit, everything was fine. The break is what caused the bad effort. It's a complete line through it, and it really muddies the form because it's first off the layoff, so you're not sure whether or not you can expect a big time step forward. So I don't hate Center Isle at 15-1 either.
You know, at that price, I don't hate her. She wasn't for me because I think that the horses that she faced, even last year as a 4-year-old, who she was beating, wasn't that solid. She beat Frank's Rocket by that point. Frank's Rocket was a shell of herself. You look to the year before that, Frank's Rocket dusted her twice. So she hasn't faced the solid horses yet, but all great points. And again, 15-1, not going to talk you off. Edgeway for me, Mike, she's a California horse, and there's really, other than, you know, Gamine or Cece who beat her. Yeah, she was second in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint, but first of all, you know, that not the greatest race. There were 5 horses. Gamine was third. You had California have horses in at least the top 3. I don't remember who was 4th. She hasn't beaten anything that makes me say, yeah, come to California, or come to Kentucky, John Sadler, who we've always had these questions about shipping. Yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, it's funny how people forgot that after I can't remember that one.
Accelerate.
Yeah, Accelerate. Who won?
He does it one time and everybody forgets. No, it was one time that he did it, people.
The pace also doesn't set up for Edgeway. He wants to be closer to it, and there's just faster horses in here. I recognize Rob's face here. So this is Rob from KY over on Twitter too.
Robbie.
And so he is incredibly intelligent when it comes to Kentucky. I love the fact we got such intelligent viewers.
Only that though. Only that. Well, nothing else.
That, and I believe it's
HVAC
systems, also very good with HVAC systems. But I love the fact that we have this intelligent viewership so that they can let us know things like this. So the track's a little different. The elevated turf course has changed the dynamics. There's water standing at the finish line for a good 2 hours after it rained yesterday. So a track that generally dries out quickly. Churchill traditionally has dried out very quickly. The rail specifically, as the water washes in, there's nowhere to go because that turf course is lifted up. So good information from Rob there. Appreciate it, man.
So what we're saying is, if you lose, if you lose a ticket sequence here because the inside was still terrible and it didn't drain properly like you wanted to, you can blame Churchill for installing the new turf track. That's what we're saying.
Or if you lose a sequence because the rail is golden on Saturday, you can blame Rob.
There you go. Either way, don't blame us. We'll move on. Penultimate leg of Saturday's all stakes, all dirt, pick 5 at Churchill Downs. Got to scroll down here to race 10, the grade 1 Churchill Downs Stakes. Can we come up with a better name than that? Why are we going to name it after the track? It's way too confusing, but this is a great race, Mike. It's a 7-furlong sprint with 8 older males, including 2 just absolute superstars. Jackie's Warrior, probably the best sprinter overall in the country last year, possibly the world on dirt. And then you've got Aloha West, number 1. All he did was beat Jackie's Warrior in the Breeders' Cup sprint. Who comes out on top?
Well, this race sets up a little better for Jackie's Warrior than that Breeders' Cup sprint did.
A little bit.
Just slightly. Not going to be wildly hounded in between horses going 21 and change. That was a rough race for Jackie's Warrior. It's one of those where it's just like, look, draw a line through it. Everyone from the back came forward. Everyone from the forward went back. And just because of that, it's just get it out of here. So I think Jackie's Warrior is going to run huge here. I like Jackie's Warrior 5-2. I'm not going to get too creative in this spot. I'm going to go too deep, but Jackie's Warrior is my top pick. I think this is a logical wire-to-wire horse. There's just, look, and if anyone wants to go with Jackie's Warrior, they will have to go so hard out of the gate and burn themselves up that I don't see any chance for them finishing. So this is one of those situations where he's going to be up top by a length and a half. And when he gets cruising and comfortable, he is so dangerous in the lead. Now, he never got cruising and comfortable in the Breeders' Cup. I think he will be able to do that over this Churchill track.
I was first want to applaud you. You had every gender pronoun correct that time. I'm so proud of you, Mike. That's great. Because it's tough. You name a horse Jackie's Warrior, we could want to say she.
Yeah, I mean, she makes it hard on me.
Well done. Vicky says Jackie's Warrior to the moon. Mike, I was this close to singling Jackie's Warrior in this sequence. I think that this horse, we talk about in the next race, there's a horse that could either win by 5 or lose by 30. This horse wins by 20 or loses by being wrapped up. Like, there's no in between with this, and I think it's the horse wins. I think, a lot. If you can lock in 5-2, I think do it. No, you're not going to get anywhere close to 5-2. This horse has such a pace advantage. Mike talked about it. In the Breeders' Cup Sprint, he had Special Reserve on one side and Matera Sky on the other, and it was a three-way suicide pace duel. Mike's brought this up before. It's a great thing. Lone Speed, love it. 2-speed, that's pretty good. 3-speed, chuck them all. That's 3 is a crowd. It's too much. So love Jackie's Warrior here. We each went too deep, so we're trying to figure out if Jackie's Warrior doesn't fire, who's the horse to use. I went back and forth and almost used the one that you did, so I want you to go ahead and talk to us about Cezanne.
Yeah, and look, this is a horse that's been touted ever since Cezanne ran for the first time. Ran well at Santa Anita, broke its maiden right out of the gate, 4-for-7 career, lost by a neck last time to Folsom, who's a horse I know that you really like, and that was going a mile. I think it was probably a little bit more than Cezanne wants to go. If you look at the other losses, it was in the mile of 16 Shared Belief was a 2-turn race, and then just an absolute no effort in the Palos Verdes, a heavy favorite. But if you look at what this horse wants to do, it feels like this horse wants to go 7 furlongs. And if I have a concern about Jackie's Warrior, it's that someone decides to challenge her and go in 7 furlongs. She's going to get a little bit tired in that last furlong. Or, I'm sorry, he's going to get a little bit tired in that last furlong. I know he's 2 for 3 at the distance. I know he's got so the 7 furlongs has not been an issue, but he has been caught or almost got caught right at the wire at 7 furlongs. And Prevalence could try. Reinvestment Risk could try. I think there are horses here that could try and push. And if I'm going to take someone from off the pace and I look at, okay, what trainer can kind of hold a Bob Baffert to the same form or possibly even move that horse up? We've seen what happened with Life is Good going into the Pletcher barn. I trust that Cezanne is going to come back as some version of himself. If he's able to do that and he's going to be tactical and someone decides to push Jackie's Warrior, I think he's the most likely one to run him down.
Boy, I went back and forth, and you would think even with being by Curlin and I have a Bernardini mare that when we get if there's a wet track for this race, it's only going to improve the chances. And I wanted to chuck Cezanne immediately. I don't like this horse. This horse is a $3.65 million purchase that's hasn't quite lived up to that billing. Not quite 1% earnings back of that purchase price yet. But we'd heard, this was supposedly one of the greatest horses ever broken at the farm that broke American Pharoah and a bunch of other superstars. I didn't like who is he beaten. I looked through this and I'm like, yeah, that Oakland Park race was great. And, for the older male division, it seemed to be okay. And Folsom's running in the Ali Sheba on Friday. So if you want to, see how Cezanne might run, take a look at the Ali Sheba race. But other than that, he's beating a bunch of California horses, 4 or 5 horse fields. That Kona Gold Stakes win, great. He beat 3 horses, and the runner-up was Brickyard Ride, who's a complete speed demon Calbred. He hasn't beaten anything. I think that 106 is a ridiculously overrated figure, other than, the time was quick for 114 going 6.5, but he hasn't replicated that since. So it's a boomer bust for him. I didn't end up using him, but I completely understand every reason to use. And by the way, he's with Todd Pletcher now. Todd Pletcher did okay when Life is Good came to him from the Baffert barn. I ended up going with the 5 Reinvestment Risk. Chad Brown realized, all right, we've got a 1-turn horse here. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile was a bad race for him, but we got a horse that's 3rd off the layoff, 3rd time start at age 4. You would think this is when he's going to have a peak performance, and he's exiting back-to-back career best buyers of 103 and 104. The only 2 horses better than that are the 2 that you're using, Jackie's Warrior and Cezanne. This horse runs second to Jackie's Warrior, pretty decent second. A really nice second to Speaker's Corner, considering Speaker's Corner was in hand in the Carter. But if you're running second to those horses a lot in Grade 1 sprints, you've got to be a good horse to be able to do that consistently. So I think stalking and pouncing, that's his style. The Carter was a weird race for him because he broke from the rail and Manny kept looking over, trying to figure out, is someone going to take the lead? Is someone take the lead? They hit the first furlong pole. And finally, Manny Franco said, okay, I'll go ahead and take the lead here. Speaker's Corner was outside of him, and Manny was just constantly keeping Speaker's Corner in his sights. Speaker's Corner isn't in this race. Jackie's Warrior could be just as good as Speaker's Corner. He could not. Reinvestment Risk for me, I think, is the one that has the best chance to pick up the pieces if Jackie's Warrior isn't the same horse that we saw last year.
The race 2 back is a BS buyer. That's one of my biggest issues with Reinvestment Risk. Milliken came back today and got rocked at Churchill. That race, there's no way in hell he should have gotten over 100 buyer in that race. That was just a bad buyer there at Gulfstream. So that's one of those races to me where it's just like, nope, don't agree with it. And I just don't love the Carter as much as you do. Yes, Speaker's Corner, exceptional horse. I thought that Reinvestment Risk looked tired. And I just don't want this horse coming back off it. They went 23:46. That's rather slow for the top level sprinters. And so it's not like that we were setting a scorching pace out there. And then on top of that, they're adding 6 pounds today too. We're going from 117 in that race to 123 today. So if you want to be a pace pressure, which is probably your best chance to Jackie's Warrior, and you're picking up 7 pounds after going 23.46 and not being able to stay with a horse that's probably worse than Jackie's Warrior, I think it's pretty tough to find the race shape that gets reinvestment risk into the winner's circle.
Let's go through here real quick, talk about a couple horses. Neither of us using the Breeders' Cup Sprint Champion, Aloha West, and he's returning from that layoff. We haven't seen him since November. This is a very interesting horse, Mike. He didn't even debut until age 4 last year. He has that magical season 2021, but was it a flash in the pan? He's at a pace disadvantage. This is his first time off the bench, and he's going 7 furlongs, which he's done well at before, but this seems like a combination where you take a shot against the champ.
Yeah, I mean, this horse is clearly better at 6 than 7. You mentioned he did well before. Well, one of those times he ran in a $107,000 stakes race at Churchill going 7. He lost to Bango and Mucho. So there's that. I mean, to me, that was a perfect storm of a Breeders' Cup race, and I'm happy to fade him off it and hope that people bet him, because I just look, at 10-1, I'm more interested in this horse, but at 7-2, I think that's just wildly short against this group. There's no way that Jackie's Warrior and Aloha West should be 1 tick apart, or Aloha West should be the same price as Sazine. Like, to me, that's just ludicrous. So, or even reinvestment risk for that matter. I think the price is just all wrong here on Aloha West. The setup could be good again. You could get that same type of speed if if 2 horses decide to try and collar Jackie's Warrior, but Aloha West needed everything to break right and a miracle head bob to win. And because of that, that's why that line is sitting at 7-2. And I don't bet horses off those types of races.
I saw a few people bring up Prevalence as well. 6-1, the 6th horse, kind of interesting. This is another one that, like reinvestment risk, we're getting back to 1 turn. This is where it probably is best. And a couple of nice back-to-back 1-turn efforts, winning in the slop and on fast. But I don't know you, Mike. I didn't use because I think he's trip dependent, and I think he needs to be on the lead and things to be a little slower. He's not faster than he's not nearly as fast as Jackie's Warrior. I think he's just going to kind of spin his wheels here.
This is another one I think needs to improve, and I'm not sure how you can draw a line to the improvement, right? I mean, like, good effort at 7 furlongs last time, but beat Long Range Toddy and Obezos, right? Long Range Toddy and Obezos are 20-1 in this spot. So to me, that's the knock there is how are you going to see this horse take a step forward? It probably, needs a 5 or 6 point buyer jump, needs to improve a little bit, but like, it's hard to imagine that this is when we're going to improve, when it's what, 4th off the layoff. So there's not really a point there. And yeah, the fact that we had 262 non-winners that we had to get through to be able to get to this point, don't make me love it either. Now, there is the big race from when it broke its maiden, and you kind of point to that and say, well, if we can improve off that, then yeah, you can make a case there. But again, in this field, I think it's tough to try and take someone like Prevalence, even with 6-1.
Last one, then we'll move on. The 7, Mind Control. To me, this is a horse that loves Aqueduct, and he was 3rd beaten. I mean, he wasn't even close to reinvestment risk in the Carter last out. So I think this horse is over the hill. I think as far as the grade 1 goes, same for you, Mike?
I'm scared of him at 7 furlongs, man. He's 5 for 15 lifetime, so I think there's some juice at 7 furlongs. But yeah, that last race, it just kind of it had some question marks. Now, Mind Control doesn't want to be in the lead, so that could be your excuse, and it's also second off the layoff. I personally would like Mind Control over reinvestment risk, even though reinvestment risk beat him last time. But I think it's going to be tough for Mind Control to be better than Sazine from a closing perspective, or try and go early with Jackie's Warrior. So I think it's just kind of a B version of the 2 horses I'm using.
You better hope Bell's the one and reinvestment risk both have bad days, or you're in for a rough Saturday. I'm just kidding.
Look, man,
hey.
I'm here to have opinions. I'm going to have them.
And they're usually right. We'll move on. But as a Cezanne supporter, where do you want to see him sit pace-wise early to get a chance?
See, here's the thing. I think that you're going to get something funky from reinvestment risk or from Prevalence early. I think someone's going to try and press Jackie's Warrior. I think it's going to be a mistake, but I do think you're going to see one of those horses go early. And if you do see one of those horses go early, I think that means that you're going to see Sazine sit 3rd place, maybe 4th place, too wide around the turn, and then be able to kind of wheel out and make a move around and get first run at the leaders. If no one presses, I think Sazine may logically sit in that 2nd spot just to the outside of Jackie's Warrior length back, which I also think is a good spot. It really depends on what reinvestment risk wants to do, what Prevalence wants to do, where they want to sit. At worst, he's going to be 4th. Both of these are to me the she horses anyway. At worst, he's going to be 4th, but I would expect you're going to see Sazine between a length and a half back in 3rd.
Because the name ends in Ann. You should have just picked Sir Alfred James. You should have singled Sir Alfred James. I don't think you would have had an issue with that one. You would have had other issues, but gender pronouns would not have been one of them. Let's move on, Mike. The final leg of Saturday's All Stakes, All Dirt, Pick 5 at Churchill Downs, race 12. We've only been building towards this for the last 6 months. It's the Grade 1 Kentucky Derby. $3 million on the line. Field of 23-year-olds going 1.25 miles. Eternal Glory on the line, as well as a lifetime ticket to boink as many mares as you would like to do. Zandon is your 3-1 favorite at post 10 for Chad Brown. Epicenter 7-2. We're both against Zandon here. Where are you going on top to win the 2022 Kentucky Derby?
Sign me up for some Messier. Look, I feel like Messier is sitting on a monster effort here. There's a bunch of different reasons why I like Messier. I think race shape actually fits pretty well for Messier. When you look at this field, how it's going to break, there's 2 horses that are logically going to be the speed. It's the 4 Summers tomorrow. It's the 17 Classic Causeway. I don't fully trust the 4 is going to be able to get out of the gate as cleanly as everyone expects. These international horses have struggled with it. The 4 Summers tomorrow has come out of sprint races overseas, so you could see some sprint style speed for Summers tomorrow. But Classic Causeway from the 17, like, are we sure? Like, everyone's like, it's a lock. The horse is going to break out there. Yeah, he broken well. So like, but let's at least bring up the fact that someone last year didn't break so well out of the 15 post. And like, yes, Joel Rosario's feet weren't in the irons, all that jazz. I'm not going to say it's a foregone conclusion that, you know, if you go out to the outside and you look who's around Classic Causeway, you've got Cyberknife, who's right inside, who is going to be more forwardly placed. You got White Abario, who the ownership group said they're going to go out there. Simplification from the 13 has some speed. Classic Causeway might struggle clearing this field. And if that happens, it sets up for Messier to get a dream freaking trip and be able to sit right in second or even have the lead around the first turn. If that happens, Messier is wildly dangerous from the front. Let's say that doesn't happen. Let's say Classic Causeway breaks, makes the lead, 4 Summers tomorrow, goes out. Guess who's sitting right behind him? Messier. Guess who gets first run on 2 shit speeds? Messier. Guess what doesn't happen down the lane all that often? People passing the horse in front. It sets up well for Messier because of the gate draw and where the rest of the speed is. Epicenter to me is the other wild card coming out of that 3 post. Joel has to get that horse forwardly placed. He has to be on tomorrow's tail if Summers tomorrow goes. And if Summers tomorrow doesn't go, he's got to be on Messier's tail. The problem is I don't think he beats Messier if he's on Messier's tail. And that's why I can't use someone like Epicenter. So I'm going to put Messier on top because of the draw and because of how the early pace I think is going to materialize in this race.
For the 3rd year in a row, you're thinking it is a John Velasquez piloted Bob Baff Tim Yakteen horse that goes across the wire first. Very well could happen. And I'm not using Messier, but if I went 3 deep, this would be the horse that I use. For all the you just don't know with him. But my concern with him, and ultimately why I left him off Mike, Messier in the past, when he gets that nice easy lead, like the Robert B. Lewis Stakes, he looks great. His maiden win, when he didn't take the lead early, or right away, but he got it halfway down the backstretch, wins going away. The Bob Hope Stakes didn't break the best. Flavien Prat pulls him back, wins going away. But then once we start going to turns, he gets challenged by Slow Down Andy, gets passed.
Yeah,
go to the Santa Anita Derby. Taiba, a horse who's made 1 freaking start at 1 turn and is the lesser backed of the 2 Baffert horses, passes him like he was standing goddamn still on the stretch. To me, Messier just at that point, the Santa Anita Derby, that showed me that when he gets challenged by an actual real racehorse or someone named Slow Down Andy, he's going to get passed.
Okay, I hear your points. Let me counter real quick.
Of course.
Chuck the Los Alamitos races. He doesn't like the track. Just throw them both out.
It is a weird track, yes.
So throw them both out. And what did I just talk about earlier? When you run a certain numbers as a 3-year-old and you see the 4-year-old first start, well, guess what? Messier did that 2 to 3. The most logical progression horse in this whole field is Messier, who is, by the way, coming out as the 2nd highest buyer and one of the highest time forms in the field. That's the most logical horse to improve in the entire field. So if I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, look, if I'm the ownership group, I know Messier is making the Derby. There's no way we're losing to Forbidden Kingdom. I'm not sending that horse. I'm not cranking that horse 100%. I don't need to win the Santa Anita Derby to get there. I care about winning the Kentucky Derby. And when we switch ownership groups, that became clear. We cared about winning the Kentucky Derby. I don't think Messier was fully cranked for the Santa Anita Derby. I think that's why Taiba got by so easily. I think Taiba was. Because you know what? The only person who wanted him in that race was the owner.
That's very true.
And so if it's just the owner, there's not this whole mental planning of where this... No, there was no plan for Taiba to go to the Kentucky Derby. They wanted to skip the Santa Anita Derby. And since they wanted to skip it, I think you had a fully cranked Taiba versus an 80% cranked Messier. Messier felt like he had no chance. The ownership group felt like they had no chance of getting in here. I think Messier is the better horse. I think Messier right now, Taiba may be better in 5 starts, but I think Messier is the better horse right now. I love the 8-1 price. I think he's wildly dangerous. Aaron brought this up. The San Diego Derby would win 11 of the last 18 Kentucky Derbies, right? So that race was massive. So for everyone who's like, well, there's only 6 horses, blah, blah, blah. But that race was so much better than anything that has been run so far from a prep perspective. Epicenter, 0 of the last 18. Zandon, 1 of the last 18 from a time form perspective. So the fact that effort with a horse that can improve to me is just, I can't pass up 8-1. I agree that you're probably going to get between 7-1, 8-1 on race day on both Taiba and Messier. To me, Messier is the horse you got to go with.
Great counter. I will say what is beautiful about Messier in this situation, and has been for the last few months, is that he's polarizing just in terms of what you saw there, because at one point, Mike, I was on that same side of the fence. I was like, well, look, it was his first race off the break. You know, Velasquez saw Taiba go by, and I was like, all right, well, I know I've got the second place. What happened when he was on Medina Spirit in the Breeders' Cup Classic and Knicks Go passes him? Velasquez looks around and goes, all right, boys, we're going for second. Like, did he actually do that? I don't know. We think he did, but there's no shame in getting second in a race like that. But I just couldn't get over the fact that Taiba went past him, and the fact that Taiba's in this race. But if you like Messier, 8-1. Come on. Why are we going to Messier is almost worth a play, even if I don't play him in this race, in the sequence. I might play him to win if he holds anywhere close to 8-1, because kind of like the, was it Trademark earlier in the card that I was talking about when I got 30-1, that's just too much value. Like, you have to play the money a little bit because the value's there, right?
Yep. Yeah. And that's part of this. I mean, look, I like Mo Donegal as a horse. I like Epicenter as a horse. I like Zandon as a horse. Mo Donegal at the 1 post for me is a complete shock, especially with what I think the pace is going to be. Epicenter, I don't think is as good as these horses. I think he's a very good horse, but I can't swallow 7-2. Zandon, I think, is a very talented horse. No horse in this field should be 3-1. For me, that pushes me away from horses like that.
Thank you, Chris. There's good discussion on Messier, and yeah, lots of back and forth. We could literally just do a whole show about Messier with the back and forth on that one. I did use Epicenter. Epicenter is my topic. It's been my topic for months. If you've watched any of these shows, I don't need to keep elaborating. He's got tactical speed. He has improving form. He himself has done nothing wrong. He's beaten everybody that you've thrown at him, other than the time Joel Rosario kind of stopped riding real late in the Lecomte. Solid connections, solid breeding, whatever the track setup, muddy, fast should be, he should be able to handle it. The problem, really, Mike, the biggest problem for me, he's not named Taiba, and that's the other horse that I use. The other horse that you use, that's the 12 horse. 12-1 seems like it might be a pipe dream for us here. We can talk about what odds we actually will get on him here, but an absolute freak show potential. Can win by 5, lose by 30. Mike Smith seems extremely confident. This feels very Justify-esque with the way that he's coming into this race. He's caught Mike Smith. So I'm using him because if Taiba wins the Kentucky Derby, I want to make sure that I cash in on this sequence.
Yeah, Taiba's my other horse I'm using. I'm probably going to have Messier as a solo must-use here, because I will have some single tickets through Messier, but Taiba would be the second horse that I would use, and is the only other horse I'm going to use in this pick 5 sequence. I think these are the 2 standouts in this field. I think the San Diego Derby was by far the best prep race. I think they have the running styles that can fit it. I don't think Taiba needs to be as close as we saw him. I think he can come from off the pace. I think he has a ton of talent. I just, for my money, I'm going too deep here. I'm just going to play the 6 Messier and the 12 Taiba. Real quick, Jalen, yeah, I hear the gates are narrower. Yes, Messier is a bigger horse. If he misses the break, he loses. Same with every other horse in this race. Yeah. Like, that's the problem. Like, with a race of 20 horses, if any of them miss the gate or break, they lose. I mean, I think Game Winner should have won the Derby, or was the best horse in that Derby. He missed the break, and that was game over, right? So it's one of those situations where there is risk in anytime you play in a race with 20 horses. If any of them miss the break, there's no shot that he's going to be able to do it.
Hang on now. He says that what makes him a standout is 15-length win against turf-claiming horses. How dare you? Cabo Spirit is a turf stakes winner. Thank you very much. And yes, Messier beat him like he was a turf stakes horse. Beat him by the freaking stretch.
When you're looking at these races, you can't just look at who they beat. You also have to look at how they ran, how fast they ran, their numbers compared to everyone else in the field. And if you just take a raw numbers perspective, and I'm talking time form, I'm talking Beyer, I'm talking Brisnet, the best 2 horses in this field are Taiba and Messier, period.
Yep.
So you can throw the field size at me and say that's a problem, and I understand that, and you're right. They haven't faced 20-horse fields. No one has.
No one has.
But they haven't faced a 20-horse field, and they haven't even faced a 10-horse field. I get that perspective. But literally every metric that you look at has those two horses as the most talented horses based off of the Santa Anita Derby, and I don't even think Messier is fully cranked for that. So I mean, to me, at some point, you just got to say, okay, I'm standing my ground on these numbers that I respect and that I've used for years. And when I see this type of overlay, I got to go to those overlays. I get the Zandon thing. I think Zandon is the most dangerous horse to my two. I think Zandon is going to sit closer to the pace with Flavien Prat. So I totally understand the Zandon perspective. I can't swallow the 3-1 price, and I don't think he's going to float up to 5 or 6-1, which is what I think he should be. And I would rather spread in other races where my opinion isn't as strong, like the Pate Mile, than somewhere where I believe that these are the two best horses. And obviously everyone's trip dependent here, but I think they both have a very good chance of working out a good trip. They're both quick out of the gate, and we've consistently seen California horses more forwardly placed than any other state, specifically when they're Bob Baffert horses. And I realize they're not Bob Baffert horses, but let's be honest, they're Bob Baffert horses. So to me, you have a lot of different edges or reasons why I believe I can get a much better trip out of these two than other horses.
Vicky brings up a great comment here. John White sold me on Taiba and Messier this morning. If you haven't watched it yet, you probably haven't. It's a little over 2 hours long, but I promise it's worth your time. The annual John White Kentucky Derby interview is up at racingdudes.com and youtube.com/racingdudes. If you don't know, John White is this legendary handicapper bettor. He's been in the game longer than most people have ever been following it, and he knows more than we've ever get a chance to forget. So go listen to that. John White's got great information, and he explains why he wasn't a Taiba Messier big supporter until recently. So make sure you go check that out. Great information. Mike, I think really it's down to 3 horses. I think it's Epicenter, I think it's Taiba, I think it's Messier. If any horse outside of that wins, it would be a surprise. But on that note, let's maybe talk about a long shot that maybe doesn't win, but could definitely ruin your ticket for exotics tickets if you didn't use. You have a horse in mind?
Yeah, I mean, of the horses that will actually go off over 10-1, because Taiba will not, of the horses that will actually go off over 10-1, I think there's 2 clear standouts. Look, White Abarrio has been getting no love. It's floated up to 15-1, 16-1 in some offshore markets, coming off a Florida Derby win where he went 4 wide around the first turn, didn't have a great position, went 3 wide around the second turn, was still able to run home and get the job done. Yes, Chargett was all over the place. I get it that Chargett was green, but White Abarrio did a lot of work in that race. Track had him going a 109 for 6 furlongs in that race, and he still was able to get home going 1 1/8 miles. I like White Abarrio. I think he could take a logical step forward. He looked great working out in Florida. He looked very good over the track again today. So White Abarrio is another one that I think has tactical speed, but also has shown the ability to pass multiple horses. He came from 5th in the Florida Derby, 4 wide in the first turn. And so I think White Abarrio makes a ton of sense. And then I'm going to the 5 Smile Happy, who's 20-1. Look, I have slandered Kenny McPeek and Corey Lanerie on this show, and I said I can't wait to bet against them if they're the favorite in the Derby. You know what they're not? The favorite in the Derby. They're 20-1 on the board. And that race, we go back to the Trip Note Pros video that we did, or the Trip Note video that we did on our on the YouTube page. It was specifically about Smile Happy, and some great points were made. Look, the horse was 3 wide at Keeneland. The horse finished well. Zandon just finished better, but Zandon also wasn't close to the pace. Zandon also ran inside the whole time. Smile Happy was 5 wide on the first turn and 4 wide on the second turn. 20-1 is way too big. And if you're talking about a horse that could hunt the rail and kind of get the trip, if we get lucky and squeeze through there, I think Smile Happy is one that could go on the rail, then fly to the outside and pick up the pieces, maybe come up for 3rd or 4th. So to me, Smile Happy and White Abarrio are the 2 longer shots that I think make a ton of sense running up into the Tri or the Super.
You're an asshole. I said give me 1. You gave me 2, and your second was mine. I'm just kidding. All great points on Smile Happy. Thank you for mentioning the Trip Notes video with Justin. I will piggyback off of that, and something I mentioned in the video with Justin is that Corey Lanerie is riding Smile Happy. Corey Lanerie got 2nd in 2017 riding Looking at Lee, who was a dead closer. He saved a ton of ground. I think he had drawn the rail that year, and a golden rail opened in the stretch, and he just came flying. I don't think he goes as far back as Looking at Lee, but I think you have a ground-saving inside trip because you're breaking from post 5. I think Messier outbreaks him, and if you look at the other horses inside Summers Tomorrow, we have no idea what's going to happen. Mo Donegal and Happy Jack probably will be behind him, so a good ground-saving trip in the first third of the runners there, this horse could definitely come running. I did a deep dive, Mike, on his breeding because I've seen a lot of people say they don't think he can go at 1 1/4 miles, and I get it. His sire, Run Happy, was a champion sprinter. But Run Happy, as a sire, 20% dirt route winners, 32 for 155. Run Happy's dam was 2 for 5 dirt routing. Run Happy sire, Super Saver, 16% dirt route sire. Oh, by the way, he also won the Kentucky Derby, and he's the last horse to win the Derby and the Kentucky Jockey Club. Smile Happy won the Kentucky Jockey Club last year. His Dam Sire, Pleasant Tap, and the Dam side is where a lot of your stamina influence can come from. Dam Sire was Pleasant Tap. He won the Jockey Club Gold Cup. He won the Suburban. Those were both mile and a quarter. He was second to AP Indy in the Breeders' Cup Classic at a mile and a quarter. My point is, don't discount Smile Happy because Run Happy is a sire because you think the distance is an issue. Pedigree says, top to bottom, this horse should definitely be able to handle a mile and a quarter. It's just, is he good enough and does he get the trip?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I don't have any distance concerns with Mile Happy. One that I do have distance concerns that's being brought up in the chat is simplification. I feel like if you go back and you watch those Florida efforts, look, the Fountain of Youth where White Abarrio wins and Mo Donegal's absolutely charging down simplification. Simplification was spinning his wheels at that point, and I think that was a mile and a 16th. And we stretch out to a mile and a quarter in the Florida Derby, and Simplification was absolutely spinning his wheels there too. So to me, I think that extra distance, or I'm sorry, it was a mile and an eighth, going to a mile and a quarter, so that extra furlong, I think is really going to be a problem for Simplification. Yes, he was faster early, totally get that, but I feel like the mile and a quarter is just a little bit too far for him.
Listen, this has been some great chat, and as Charles says, great discussion, only be solved on Kentucky Derby Day. But listen, if you want more thoughts on the Kentucky Derby, for the purpose of the Magic Mike Show, we've got to cut it short. But we have profiles, in-depth profiles at racingdudes.com and youtube.com/racingdudes for all 20 horses in the gate. So go check that out. You'll get in-depth thoughts, coverage of the replays. What do we think these horses will be able to do? You can find all of that over there. But for right now, Mike and I, we agree Taiba is a horse you got to watch. And then if not Taiba, either the 3 Epicenter or the 6 Messier in the Kentucky Derby. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thanks for joining Mike and I to cover the All Stakes, All Dirt Pick 5 at Churchill Downs. It's a fun sequence. It's 50 cents, and it is a 15% takeout. When Twin Spire says, hey, here's a 15% takeout play, you should do it because it doesn't come around that often, and you got to show them that that's what you want to see. So really appreciate you joining us. Please support it, the sequence and everything. We've got our tickets down below. We'll give them out one last time. I will start off, Mike. I'm going to go 2-7-11 with 1-2-3-5-6 with 1-2-6 with 3-5 with 3-12. That is $90. Please go ahead with yours.
I'm going to play a 50-cent pick 5. I'm going to go 2-4-7 with 1-3-6-9-11-12 with 1-2-5 with 3-8 with 6-12. That'll cost you $108 for 50 cents. If you are not sick of me yet, make sure you come back and check me out. I'll be on You Better You Bet over at 540. I'm going to give out my Derby Superfecta there, so make sure you check that out. We're going to have live shows on the Racing Dudes YouTube page on Thursday night, previewing Friday's card, on Friday night, recapping Friday's card, and previewing Saturday's card. So you get much more chance to talk through us. We'll talk about horses we like underneath on both of these days. Make sure you check out the guide that's available on the site. Sama Bombs for tomorrow will be up shortly, and that'll be available Friday and Saturday. That'll be available the day before they come out. I suggest if you're going to go with them, buy them the morning of, just to make sure you get the right days. And there'll be notes in the comments to see if they're updated. I'm going to update everything when changes come out, so you can see the scratches and changes and condition. Because obviously, if it's raining, that may change a couple of the picks.
I also added, if you are curious, Mike and I did have agreement in all 5 races. So a press ticket for us for this sequence is 2-7 with 1-3-6 with 1-2 with the 3 with Taiba in the last there. Listen, we've appreciated everybody who's joined us for this journey. As Mike said, plenty more action coming from the Racing Dudes over at youtube.com/racingdudes. I'm going to pull that up real quick here to show off just how much we've got going on. Do you mind pulling down the overlay while I do that?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I got skills.
You got skills. Boom. There we go. Teamwork. Love it. Look at this. Look at all this beautiful Kentucky Derby madness. Why your Kentucky Derby horse will lose. Some post stats and trends. John White with the famous interview. I went back and watched it. The part everybody was talking about where he exits and then comes back towards the end. It really is as funny as everybody was making it sound. We had our final morning daily show this morning, and check out the action there. And oh, by the way, last night, returning from retirement, Saratoga Slim was with this guy, Mike Samich, talking about the pace for the Kentucky Derby. Mike, how fun was that episode?
It was a blast, man. It was a blast from the past too. I worked in sales, and I worked with engineers all the time who made PowerPoints. So it was a lot of fun to kind of reel Slim in at the right points and kind of understand how to properly translate some of those comments. It makes me feel like I'm very happy I never had to edit that, because I can't even imagine having to take that in word form to put it into a legible thing. How long that would have taken you.
Yeah, I was just very happy that everything is on video and everything's on YouTube and it's all going well, and that's all I'll say with that. But it's very happy to see. Very happy to see so many of you, over 200 at one point, watching. Before you go, just do us a real quick favor. Give us a like, a thumbs up. That's the bare minimum you can do. It's so easy, take you 2 seconds, and it does a world of good for us in the YouTube algorithm. If you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, we'll still have plenty more content coming out, like Mike said, so you don't want to miss that, and hit the notification bell so that you get alerted every time we've got something going live. Don't forget, Inside Track to the Kentucky Derby Wagering Guide is available at racingdudes.com. It should be available by Wednesday evening, so go download that or purchase if you haven't yet. Mr. Samich, I'm going to see you or talk to you again before the Derby, but I want to wish you safe travels. It's been a lot of fun on this journey, and we're just a few days away from the big day, buddy.
Fingers crossed we're right? Let's just run it back just like last year. Let's hit the Super. Let's have the winner. Let's have the try. Let's have the exacta. Let's just hit it all again, baby.
Listen, we got a good price on Medina Spirit, and we couldn't believe it. We get the same thing again here. Final note from Rich there. Thank you so much for joining us. Until tomorrow night for the Thursday night show, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck, everybody. See you then.
This has been a presentation of RacingDudes.com, your destination for all things horse racing and sports betting. Whether you want free winners, expert insider picks, up-to-the-minute trackside weather reports, or podcasts and videos for bettors of all skill levels, never make another wager without visiting the Racing Dudes. First,